You're listening to Oppositional Forces. Bad guys for good reasons. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I am your host, Scotty Don't, and this is Oppositional Forces Op 4. I'm joined today with, of course, the last surviving frost giant from the frozen north, Mr. Frost. Say hi.
Hi.
I still get a kick out of that. So today, Mr. Frost, we are coming full circle. We've hit a couple of things already in the previous episodes. And as we move forward, we want this to kind of flow almost like an instructional course. So we've had our intro, where we talked about who we are and why we're here. Our last episode, we talked about safety and, the fundamentals of safety and the importance and how to apply that to a bunch of different situations. What are we talking about today?
Situational awareness.
And what is situational awareness?
Situational awareness is definitely knowing your surroundings. Such a vast thing. Knowing your surroundings, kind of taking precautions of what's going on around you, who's around you, where you're at, having a good sense of almost like a threat level of whether you use colors, numbers, whatever it is that you identify your threat level to.
Right. So in the Marine Corps, we actually had a handful of them, so if you wanted to understand, what the threat level was on base, it was posted as you came in, almost like what you see a lot is you're, driving through a wooded area or out in the wilderness, and you'll see like the fire rating, like, oh, it's a high threat level.
Smokey the Bear, keeping things safe.
Right. And, it had like corresponding colors. If you came onto a base, they had like an alphanumeric code that lets you know, hey, this is what you're coming into. This is what the world is like inside and outside the base, this general area. So it's something that can control your mindset a little bit. What's a good way to maybe prep yourself in the morning before you step out the door?
I have gotten out of practice of this, but just kind of focus on what I have going on for the day. Just having a good mindset of like, is it a normal place that I go to often? Kind of get my everyday carry or my EDC stuff kind of lined out. Am I going to be in a space where I know that I'm going to go into the post office and I know that I'm going to have to, disarm going into the post office, or if I'm, going in, I'm going to go to school, depending on what it is, or just having a good idea of what I'm going to have. Do I have my knife? Do I have, my tourniquet? Yeah. I know a lot of people say that, oh, that's a lot of paranoia, but I carry stuff like that just because that's part of my situational awareness, and having that mindset of like, hey, I know I'm going to go into a busy place.
Right. Yeah. So, it's definitely about wrapping your head, into a mindset. For me, I like to look at, I've got two things. So what I have been best known for, amongst my friends and peers is the guy who sends out, little screenshots of people on the bookings page. Every night before I go to bed, I look at my local bookings page to see who's been arrested and for what. It started out as like, oh, I want to see who I went to high school with, or somebody maybe I worked with way back when. And, look how the great have fallen kind of situation. But
My face has not been on that bookings page, just by the way.
Your face hasn't?
No.
Oh.
It's not.
Oh, mine has. And
Scotty don't.
It evolved into, I want to know what kind of crimes, not necessarily who's committing the crimes, although it does help to familiarize yourself with the faces of potential threats in your community, which is also a reason why I recommend that people look at, their sex offender list, their local sex offender list, who lives near you. That's super easy Google search, and some of the sites are outdated and some of them are pretty spot on. But I like to know, hey, are we having a string of car break-ins, or are we having a string of shoplifting, issues, and which part of town?
Right.
And so you see the who's doing what, and then, what's the criminal climate right now, and it changes throughout the year. We live in a seasonal tourist area.
Oh yeah, most definitely.
And so, as the heat,
and all that stuff.
right, exactly. As the heat starts to dissipate from the summer and we get out of the triple digits, we get a lot of people that are escaping the snow from up north, our wonderful snowbirds. They come down, and it seems like the crime seems to come with them, even though it's not them committing it.
I kind of feel like, for those of you that don't kind of understand what snowbirds are, it's like the equivalent of Florida. If you're from that area, everybody kind of coming down from New York and New Jersey and stuff like that into Florida, and the purple mushroom heads popping up, driving down the road of the older folks coming in, and
the retirees
driving 5 miles an hour on a 75 mile an hour freeway, things like that. That's just how I break that down.
Yeah. Well, and it's something you need to know about where you live. What does, what can you expect to see in your everyday? And that's kind of what we were talking about is, before you step out the door in the morning, what's the weather going to be like? What season are you in? What month is it? Is there a holiday, today, tomorrow? Is there an event going on in town that, can disrupt the flow of traffic? You have to be prepared so that you can, expect the unexpected, at least, in one way or another. And have an understanding of what's going on. A lot of the time we refer to that as the baseline. If you know what your neighborhood looks like in springtime, what's different is what's going to stick out to you. Okay, it's today is March 23rd. I'm going outside. It's going to be a sunny day like it is 360 days a year here in southern Utah. But I know that, being late March, we're getting more into the more active season. People are starting to go hiking again. There's a bunch of like your, granola eaters that are coming out. Expect that there's,
more mountain bikes on the road.
Exactly. Your bikes are starting to come out.
Runners.
Your motorcycles are out running around. It's a nice day. So what is it that you have to be looking out for? What is it that you can expect, to change, and what should be similar?
Right.
So, as we're getting ready to step out the door, and we've looked at all these things, we've taken into consideration. And this is a really quick, this isn't anything crazy. It's like, okay, am I wearing a jacket today? What's going on in the local, news? You look at
bringing an umbrella just in case.
Right, exactly. And then you're stepping out the front door. You're going to get in your car, open the garage, whatever. Situational awareness. It's a conscious effort, but it's surrounded by a bunch of unconscious activity.
Right.
So when you're getting ready to go, you're taking that extra moment to look around. The garage door comes up or your front door opens. What's outside? What's going on? What do you hear? What do you see? What do you smell? And just being mildly conscious of your surroundings can make all the difference. And I guess one of the biggest points that I want to drive home is that this is an everyday change to how you live your life. And for people who have been in the military, law enforcement, first responders, people who have encountered danger in their lives, they understand this very clearly, but not everybody understands situational awareness. Why do we have to, teach it, train it?
I think that situational awareness is probably like one of my most favorite classes to teach, to be very honest with you, just because there's so many things that you can do to help train your mind. And, if you've got younger kids or even just kids in general, and helping them identify those things and things that change around them, that they become more conscious. And, the more you know about what's going on around you, the safer you can be, and the safer you can keep people around you. I mean, ultimately, it really kind of happens. I mean, here in Southern Utah, most definitely we're blessed, or whatever you want to call it, of, sunshine and freaking blue skies most of the time. Maybe it gets a little windy, but it's nothing really out of the ordinary. But sometimes in that off chance, you look at the forecast and it says sunshine and freaking no clouds, and you walk out and it's like, sky's gray. What's going on? You can even smell the rain in the air. And, especially where we're at here in Southern Utah, depending on where you're going, maybe you're going for a hike or something like that when you leave the house, flash floods are a big deal here.
Yeah, they are.
So it's one of those things that it only takes, 10 minutes of a good rainstorm, and suddenly you can get swept away with a lot of water real quick.
Right. Yeah. And if you're going to be going out and doing some sort of extracurricular activity like that, there definitely has to be that extra consideration for what's not only going on in your immediate area, but also what's going on in your, what we refer to as like the concentric rings out further from you. Because if you're going on a hike and it's raining 40 minutes north of us, but it is pouring rain, you might be able, to, see or smell or understand there's rain going on. Maybe you don't, but that flash flood, it's coming right for you.
Right. Right. And even just having that mental awareness of it and knowing, hey, it's raining up higher in the higher elevation, that water is going to come down. And, that turns into, well, did I bring plenty of water? Did I bring, I forgot my Nalogen bottle or whatever, or my Life straw that I'm going to have in my bag. Maybe I got to go back and look at it and really think about it. But those are, kind of things that's part of that checklist of like, hey, what am I doing today? What's going on? What kind of things should I be bringing with me? Or what kind of things should I really be thinking about? I mean, hopefully you have like an extra Life straw or something like that you keep in a small go bag with you all the time in your vehicle, or, a backpack that, like, I carry a backpack everywhere I go. Of course, I'm
just one.
I mean, I do love backpacks, Hey, shout out there. If you're a designer of bags and you do like the 72-hour bag and you do it,
Mr. Frost wants to
I will
test it for you.
I will test it for you, or I'll even buy it. I don't care. And I promise I will put it through the ringer.
So, I mean, that we're talking about a very specific activity here, but it's to illustrate a much bigger picture. And that bigger picture is know your baseline, understand what it is that you should see in the activity that you're engaged in. And if you're doing something new or different, hopefully you've done, your research and looked into, oh, okay, I'm going to try this new thing. Maybe take someone who understands what they're doing, but at least have a general understanding of what you're going to expect in whatever it is you're doing for the day. If you're going to the office, you've been to the office 1,000 times, so as you're stepping out the front door, oftentimes people can start to glass over that monotony, right, and they might notice something different. They might not. If you can always expect that you've got a newspaper waiting on your front porch on Monday mornings and you open the front door, you're going to notice that the paper's not there. But maybe you don't notice, that something in your periphery has changed. So as you're stepping out the front door, situational awareness is taking that extra breath before you walk to your car and look around. What's going on? The sun's shining, the sprinklers are going on, at the neighbor's house, as they always do. They overwater their lawn. Somebody's trash can is still on the street 2 days, too long after trash day.
It's on its side in the road. Right.
Be aware. And as you turn the corner, you walk in your car, are your tires filled? Are your windows up? Is something different? Has something changed in your baseline so that you can have a rapid understanding of, hey, this is different. I need to pay attention for a moment. So a little example, I took the family to go see a movie tonight, and I'm on my way back to my car because I met the family there. There is a piece of paper tucked under my windshield wiper. This is different. Nobody else has one on their car. So as I'm walking up to mine, I'm realizing, okay, it's just me. So now I'm looking around. I'm not focused on the piece of paper. The piece of paper is not going anywhere. It's either going to be a ticket or, hey, sorry, I bumped into your car, whatever the case may be. But it's only happened to me, and I have enough training, just looking on even just Facebook and, the YouTube videos and things like that. I have a general understanding that if you see something on your vehicle that wasn't there when you left it, sometimes that's meant to distract you from something coming up. So I approach the car, I look around, I make sure that, my surroundings are clear. I pick up the paper. It's got a handful of numbers on it. It says, hey, I think I left my phone in your car. I have no idea who this is. Now I have to start racking my memory, and boom, it hits me. Oh, I saw, as I was pulling out of a housing complex, a skateboarder who had eaten it on the sidewalk and was halfway in a bush. And so I pulled over, checked on him. Hey man, how you doing? Do you need me to call you an ambulance? Nah, man, I just rolled my ankle. Okay. So I evaluate him for the moment. Is he a threat? Is he not a threat? And immediately I'm saying, okay, it's not a big deal. He looks legitimately injured. This isn't some sort of strange scam or whatever. You'd be surprised what you see. When you go to Europe and you've got the lady who's laying halfway in the road and halfway on the sidewalk. She looks like she's, absolutely perishing in front of you for want of water and bread.
Well, Book of Eli, the movie Book of Eli.
Oh, yeah.
That's a perfect example.
Exactly. Yeah. Setting up for an ambush kind of thing. So for me, I'm operating at sort of maybe even what you would consider a ridiculous level of awareness. But he asks, hey, can you take me 3 blocks up to my house? I'm not going to be able to skate home. I've rolled this ankle, whatever. I skateboarded as a kid. I understand how it goes. The injuries are aplenty. So I say, yeah. So I help him into my car. I drive him back to his house. I drop him off. I didn't think anything else of it until all of a sudden I'm standing there with this paper in my hand and I'm thinking, wait, there was something different about my day. And then behind me and in my periphery, I see this white car approaching me, cutting through the parking lanes. And it's the guy. And he pulls up and he says, hey, I think I left my phone in your car. I tracked it with my Find My iPhone app. So, okay. My levels are starting to go down. Everything's making sense. But the point of that story is that you have to have an understanding, at least, rudimentary understanding of what it is that your day normally looks like, so that that you're actively looking for the differences. Otherwise, you'll glass over them. That's why I am constantly correcting the people in my circle, in my tribe, to quit looking at their phones when they're walking around.
Right. I mean, that's a big thing in the situational awareness class that I teach, especially with women, younger women or newer drivers. Look through your windows and look in the back seat. I mean, it's one of those things, like, it's not hard to do.
Right.
Take a peek in your back seat, because, sometimes we're just like, oh, la-di-da, I'm notorious for this. I wear earbuds everywhere I go, just about. I constantly have music going on in something. I have something playing in the earbuds. Usually it's just to avoid people. Even if there's nothing playing, they don't bother me. But having that awareness of, like, hey, is there something in my back seat or somebody in my back seat?
Right.
Because then all of a sudden it turns into, oh, I'm walking past, they're laying in wait. If you see something out of the ordinary in the back, you can walk away, call somebody, something like that, go get somebody to help you, or, make that phone call to law enforcement.
Right. And if you're inattentive enough, there could be somebody rifling through your car, and you could be within 5-10 feet of them before you realize it's going on.
Yeah. And it's your car, and you're like, what are they doing to that car over there?
Right.
And there's shit scattered everywhere. And then it dawns on you, hey, that's my gym bag. Hey, that's, what? Hey.
Right. And so when you're out in public, when you are at work, doing your job, whatever it is, you have to understand that baseline in order to understand what changes. And then you have to be aware enough and vigilant enough. And we're not talking about paranoia here. We're not talking about like, oh man, I better check under my bed every night, walk through, open every closet.
That's a long ways down for me.
And just pushing the envelope a little bit and say, you're going to look in your rearview mirror as you're driving, every minute or so, and just be aware of the color car behind you. Make and model is not important at that point. If you've made a handful of turns and you still have that white pickup truck behind you, that's situational awareness. Just being aware that it's there so that you can make the necessary adjustment to then make the determination if you're being followed, right? And a lot of people, their situational awareness goes up when they're doing something wrong. If you're speeding, you're looking for cops. When you're trying to discreetly throw something away, in somebody's bin, and you shouldn't, kind of thing, like, oh man, I'm just going to get rid of this really quick. Look left, look right. That's what you're supposed to be doing every day. All the time. You should be aware of where you are and what you're doing, and be conscious of your actions and be conscious of the actions around you. Because if everybody else every day on your walk to work walks, lackadaisically or with a little bit of hustle because they're trying to get to the office too, and then on an odd Thursday, there's half as many people on the street and people are half jogging, in one direction. That might be something that you want to notice.
Yeah.
If the flow of traffic all of a sudden is in one direction and you're headed in the opposite direction, you might be heading towards something everybody else is attempting to escape, or being rerouted from. Road construction,
Right.
Detours, accidents, all of these things happen all the time. And if you're not paying attention to what's ahead of you and what's happening behind you, then you're going to miss it and you're going to get caught up.
Right. I mean, kind of that same note of knowing what's going on. I went to the gym before we came in here to start recording, and I knew I was going to have to grab some food afterwards. And suddenly, I didn't realize it was like 10 o'clock at night. And here in southern Utah,
they roll up the sidewalks.
They literally roll up the sidewalks at like 8:30, 9 o'clock. I mean, it's ridiculous. It drives me insane. But for some reason, I was thinking it was like 9 p.m. I really didn't. I was like, why is everything closed? This is ridiculous. I'm starving. I'm looking for somewhere. And then I'm like, oh, I got to hurry and get over here so that we can, here at the Smash Labs, to start, recording. I got to get a shower. I got to get some food. My legs are starting to ache from the leg day. And I'm just like, what's going on? I pull into my driveway and I look at my clock on my radio and it's 10:30,
right.
10:15. And I go, oh, no kidding. That's why everything's closed. Even though it's a Friday night, they rolled up the sidewalks already.
Right. So if you'd have been just a little more aware, then you would have known, oh, okay, now scroll over to nighttime hunger pangs menu list.
Right.
Now I know where I'm going.
Right. I got to go to Alberto's and get a burrito or a asada quesadilla.
Quesadilla.
I'm paying for right now.
All right. So before we get into some of this other stuff, we're gonna do this number. So just bear with me. All right, everyone, we're taking a brief moment to talk to you about one of our favorite sponsors. That's right. The Barber Collective is a Southern Utah mainstay, U.S. veteran owned, with an elite team of classically trained barbers for you to get that dapper do, professional fade, or a cut on the wild side. Competitive pricing with walk-ins available. You won't walk out disappointed that you tried The Barber Collective. Call today and schedule your appointment. Mention oppositional forces and receive your first cut on us. You can schedule online at vagaro.com/barberco. That's VAGARO.com/BARBERCO. Or call them at 435-922-8454. That's 435-922-8454. That's the Barber Collective. Don't let that do you wrong. Go see them today. Another generous sponsor of the show is our friends at Smash Labs Rage Rooms, a Southern Utah exclusive with franchise options available. You won't find another adventure spot quite like this. Axe throwing lanes with a variety of edged weapons to choose from, and their special Rage Rooms, where you and your friends can work out the day's frustrations by smashing TVs, home appliances, all kinds of glassware, big and small, and an ever-evolving range of ceramic and miscellaneous items sure to thrill the senses. Call them today and schedule your date night, boys or girls night, or even large private parties. Visit their website at www.smashlabs.biz and check out all their special pricing packages, or call 435-359-2214. Walk-ins welcome. That's Smash Labs Rage Rooms. So that was my first time trying to iron out the kinks on that. So thank you, everybody, for being patient with us. We just want to make sure that we are supporting local business and that we're passing that along to the rest of you. So, Mr. Frost, we were talking about kind of really the more basic level situational awareness. And without kicking that horse anymore, I want to kind of push on to some of the other aspects that help you sharpen your situational awareness. And you and I were talking about before we started the show about things like varying your routes, your everyday carry, some of the things that go into that. Why vary your routes? And how does that tie into situational awareness?
Well, I mean, if you think about it, varying your routes makes you unpredictable. So that also keeps you from getting lost in that slump of just like day in, day out. I go this way. You kind of fade out. You know, we've all done it once we work somewhere for a while, and you know, you blink, and suddenly you remember being at home in the driveway and pulling out, and then you blink and you realize, oh crap, I'm here at work already. Wow.
How did I just float here?
Right. I don't even remember driving, and I had to get on a major highway and go like 90, and you're just oblivious to it. I mean, that's one of those things. I really kind of feel like, you know, varying your routes makes you realize that, oh, I got to turn here. Oh, I got to turn here. Oh, wow, they got this roadblock because they're repaving the road, and I'm normally I don't go through this neighborhood, but they've got it blocked off. So now you're like, oh, I got to reroute myself. It keeps your mind sharp, not short. That's just my way of thinking. But that it helps you. It helps you, and then it turns into, you know, I mean, some people say it's paranoia or something like that, but I mean, that's definitely a military thing that they push, or a law enforcement thing that they push, of varying your routes, because then you can see if somebody's following you around, or, you know, that kind of stuff. It's, I mean, I even tie that into, you know, when you get into your car and you look and you see your gas gauge and you're like, oh, man, oh yeah. Like down here, we just had, last week was the senior games or something like that. So we're going to have a little heavier traffic. Well, now I got to stop and get gas because I don't know what kind of traffic that's going to entail, like
right,
where that event is. So now I'm at the gas pump. What are some of the things that we can do at the gas pump for situational awareness? One, don't get back in your car. Please don't get back in your car.
One of the worst things that I think I've ever seen, as like those, when you're spiraling down the rabbit hole on YouTube, right, is I get sucked in to these CCTV compilations,
right,
of people not paying attention to their surroundings and getting robbed blind. And the gas station is a primary stop for it. If you want to get robbed, beaten, carjacked, whatever it is, linger at a gas station and don't pay any attention to what you're doing. Just live in your own little world, in your own little bubble, and see if you're
Jesus
staring at your phone, and see if you don't end up, you know, in a sticky situation at some point in your life. Because, and I forget the term that they use for it, but they're so sly with it now that you could be standing at your pump and you're punching in your PIN code and sliding your card in and out. You're hitting your rewards points, you know, with your card, or putting your phone number in. While you're doing that and your back is turned to your car, there is somebody quietly opening your driver's side door, reaching over and taking your purse, or snatching your phone and climbing back into their car and leaving. And you won't notice until you've got a full tank of gas. You climb back in your car and you're trying to turn your tunes on.
Right.
Because that's how easy it is. Everybody knows, you know, the idea of opening and closing a car door when you've got a sleeping baby, right, you know, or you get home late at night, you know, from a party and you don't want mom and dad to hear that you just pulled up. It doesn't matter if you've got a steel body 1980s something, you know how to close a door quietly on your car or truck. So do they.
Right.
And so
they've practiced even.
Exactly. So, I mean, places like the gas station are a serious hotspot for criminality. One, because you can loiter at a gas station probably unharassed for hours.
Right. And nobody's really going to notice. And then you top that off with, people start watching. Oh, they come to this gas station all the time. Or, you know, they see you go in and maybe you prepay. And because you go there all the time, the gas attendant knows who you are by name.
Right.
And they're like, hey, Steve, you know, here for gas. Do you need your usual? You get a pack of smokes, can of Copenhagen, whatever it is.
Right.
You know, you got your Monster, your Red Bull, and they're talking about whatever. But I mean, being situationally aware is really important. I mean, you get out of your car, lock the doors, like lock those doors, keep the driver's side door open. And I say this, and I'm going to tie this in, but keeping that door open with that ballast right there. So it's like a block, a roadblock.
Right. Depending on what side your tank is on.
Right. Right. But I'm just saying, so, and this works really well for women as well, because people will generally come head on with the car. And if you're not on your plastic Jesus, i.e. your phone, like you shouldn't be, and paying attention that the gas isn't spewing out of your tank and what's going on around you, you know, is somebody spraying gas all over the pumps or something like that, like a Point Break, or what's that movie with, anyways, I won't get off on that sidetrack, but
right. If you're paying enough attention, you know, you're making eye contact, at least briefly, with the other people at the other pumps.
Right.
You're looking at, you know, who's standing at the entry door. You know, maybe they're having a cigarette, you know, by the entry door of the gas station. Like, you're taking a quick inventory, just like at your front door, just like, you know, getting to your office, leaving your office. Take a quick inventory of where you're at.
right.
And because now you have a quick working memory of what everything looks like, now you can see when it changes.
Right.
You know, oh, I saw this guy come from around the corner and walk into the gas station, but now he's coming out and walking towards us at the pumps.
Right.
Did he drive here? What you know, what was he doing from behind? You know,
Right.
what's this guy all about? And you can pay just that extra smidge of attention to him. And when he sees you paying attention to him, you're no longer a target, or you're less of a target.
Right.
Because crime does not like to be identified.
Right.
They like to be unpredictable. The element of surprise is their number one, winning factor. And so if you can break that for them, hey, I see you, just by making that quick eye contact, even if you're just smiling at people, just, hi, how are you? Now they know,
I've been seen.
I've been seen. Exactly. Right. And so they're going to push on to somebody else who's still staring at their phone, who hasn't paid a lick of attention, you know, who's, you know, busy washing their windshield while the pump is running, while the kids are, you know, rolling the windows up and down in the back seat. And so every element it doesn't matter if you're stopping at the grocery store, you're stopping at your favorite bar, anywhere can be an opportunity for you to take a deep breath and just look around.
Right. I'd like to add this, like, don't worry about being rude with people. Don't get caught up in having to be smiley and be happy. Ladies especially.
You can be rude.
You can be rude. It's okay to be rude. Somebody starts to approach you and you look at them and they keep
no, thank you.
Yep. Or, hey, what do you want? You know, can
Right.
I help you? That kind of thing. And especially in a kind of an authoritative voice, draws attention to everybody else at the pumps.
Right.
Or even in front of, if you're just pulling into the gas station to, I don't know, get a cup of coffee or whatever it is.
Sure. You and your waitress friends are hanging out outside the restaurant after close.
Right.
And you're all comparing stories from the day.
Right.
And somebody starts walking up to you. They could be asking for, you know, a light for their cigarette, or, hey, where's the nearest gas station? It don't matter.
Right.
You don't have to be their savior that night and give them anything.
Right. And don't be afraid of that. And women, men, doesn't matter. And I'd rather be safe and think somebody's thinks that I'm an asshole.
You are an asshole.
I know. I take pride in it. I got a PhD in it. Anyways, it's one of those things like, don't worry about what other people, how they view you, because your safety is more important. I say this a lot in classes, and there's a lot of people that can attest to it when they hear this. It's you or me. It's always going to be me. Always going to be me. I'm going home.
Right.
Whether it's with stitches or without stitches, I'm still going home. You may be going in a box, and I don't care, but I'm going home.
Right. Which is why the both of us agree that part of situational awareness is your everyday carry.
Right.
And that's a little bit of something I want to talk about here for a minute before we wrap up, is that when you, and okay, I'm going to preach on a soapbox here for a moment.
Oh boy.
You should carry a firearm. If you are going out into the big open world, if you have the ability, if you have the training, if you have the appropriate license or permit, depending on your state, you should, because you have a responsibility to yourself, you have a responsibility to your family to get home, or to protect your family when they're with you, you should be carrying a firearm. Now, not everybody's going to agree with that, right? So let's agree to disagree. I'm a bad guy, right? That's what we do here. And I'm telling you right now, we carry everywhere. We carry sometimes when it's less appropriate to carry. Okay.
There's a story with that at the end of this.
I went, so this is going to kind of date the show today. I went to a Halloween party at the park for a bunch of homeschool families, you know, right. So kids can all meet and greet and play and have fun, costumes and the whole 9 yards. I carry.
Right.
How many times in the last 2 decades, you know, has something gone awry in a park? All the time. It doesn't matter where you are. It doesn't matter what safe state you live in, how red or blue or purple it is. You are always exposed in a public setting.
Always.
So your everyday carry, first and foremost, personal opinion, should be a firearm that you have trained with, that you have taken the time to practice with dry fire, to practice drawing from your holster in whatever cute outfit you're wearing that day, right? An unloaded firearm that once you get that new snazzy coat on, draw, try it. How hard is it? Oh, maybe, you know, I need to have the low zipper pulled up a little bit, so I've got a little extra room at the waist so that I can untuck, you know, that coat, you know, pull that coat up a little bit and get to my pistol. It might be a cold day.
Right.
Maybe you need to adjust what holster you're wearing, where you're carrying it. And then you need to draw enough times to understand for that day how you're going to perform.
Right.
And then, okay, climbing off my soapbox, there's a handful of other things that you should be carrying with you. And when you have these things, these items of responsibility, just having them heightens your awareness to your surroundings.
Right.
Because when you're carrying the responsibility of a firearm, at least for me, I'm very keenly aware of how I'm acting, what I'm doing, and how I treat people. Because the last thing that I want is to end up in a situation where it's going to be me or you.
Right.
Right. Because it's going to be me. Right. Like you were saying, it's going to be me.
Right.
But I don't want that to get to that point.
Right. I don't want it to be in that situation in any way, shape, or form.
Right. So, okay, we've covered the firearm. You should always
at least
have
one extra magazine.
You know, and that's an argument, you know, and it's definitely something that, especially for somebody who's carrying on their immediate person and not a purse carry. Yes, you should have an extra magazine, because if they're worth one, they're worth 12, right?
Right.
If they're worth one, they're worth the whole magazine.
Well, one is none and two is one.
Right. So the purpose of a fully loaded magazine is to stop the threat.
Right.
And the threat's not over until it's over, and you don't know how many that's going to take.
Right.
So, not a lawyer, but take that for what you will.
Get insurance.
If you're carrying,
Get the concealed carry insurance.
you've got to have concealed carry insurance.
There's a couple.
I'll wait till we have a sponsor
Well,
before I start plugging people.
Right. Right. But I think that that's a necessity. I mean, that comes along with a knife, something sharp.
Edge weapons.
Yeah, it doesn't need to be an expensive Spyderco or, something crazy. It doesn't need to be, whatever. It could be a gas station special.
Right.
And it doesn't have to be a Bowie knife like you're on Sons of Anarchy either.
3.5 inch blade.
You don't even need a 3.5 inch. A 1 inch blade can end a life.
Sure.
To be very honest.
Absolutely. And some of the training that we've taken, some of the books that we recommend here, like Emergency by Neil Strauss, and some of the courses, that we push along with like Kevin Reeve at On Point Tactical, that, Tom Kyer with Sayat Kali, you can do a lot of damage with a card knife.
Right.
It's just a razor blade super glued onto an old room key with 1/8 of an inch of the blade poking up in the corner, and you can cause so much damage. It would terrify you. And I can take that anywhere, like anywhere.
Right.
I'm not gonna emphasize more than that, but
anywhere.
Undetectable. So if you've got a folding knife or a straight blade, something, if you need to open a box, right, you need to get into something, you need to have access, to whatever the case may be. An edge weapon, and that's why
it's a tool.
It's a tool. And that's why the gas station specials and stuff are so great, is because you're not worried about breaking or chipping, a $15 gas station special knife, right. Because who cares? I'll buy another one.
Right.
So you should have these tools with you so that you can perform at your best, regardless of the situation.
Right.
So you carry a tourniquet.
Well, so two other things that I carry. I carry a flashlight. I always have a flashlight because,
like a pen light?
A pen light, or even just a small, Surefire light. I like Surefire lights. I just recently bought a new one that's rechargeable. The battery's rechargeable through like a USB cord. I think it's dope. Anyways, I bought it just before I hit Louisiana. But I love that light. Anyhow, I carry a tourniquet. I don't carry it on my person, depending on what I'm doing, but I always have a swatee, or I have, I have like 4 or 5 different kind of tourniquets, and it just kind of depends on where I'm going to be and what I'm doing. Because, some people say, oh, tourniquets, if you don't know how to use it properly, you figure it out real quick, because most of them have instructions attached to them.
Well, and you don't want that emergency to be the time that you're trying to read those instructions. But the fact that you have those things at your disposal, and you should be fiddling with and playing with your EDC, how you wear it, where you wear it, whether it's in these are extra items in your car, in your pockets, on your belt, in your backpack that you carry everywhere. Who cares? Shout out to all the boot Marines out there walking around with a giant backpack on that look all tactical. But they're not wrong. They've got a water source in there. They've got their moonbeam flashlight. They're ready to rock and roll because they don't know where they're going to end up.
Right.
And safety first. If you're going out and about and you could end up somewhere interesting, why not have what you might need in an interesting situation. If you're going hiking, at a minimum, you should have a tourniquet, a boo-boo kit, trauma kit, water,
extra water from what you would normally carry.
Right.
Like maybe an extra 2 bottles of water. I mean, it's not even an extra pound that you're carrying if you're measuring out weight, to be very honest with you.
Sure. And in every one of these situations, you could think of 1,000 different things. And what you have to figure out is what's most important. And then you have to remember 1, 2, 3. First tier, second tier, third tier.
Right.
First tier is the things I carry on my person, the things that are immediately attached to me. They're in my pocket. They're on my belt. They're tucked in my little whatever pen holder on my polo shirt, or, your glasses on your face, the hat on your head. That's your tier 1. Tier 2 is the things that are immediately attached to you, secondarily, like a backpack, a purse, a
fanny pack.
Shout out to Joe Rogan. And third tier is your car, or your extended bag. If in your car you've got your, like for me, I've got my 72-hour bag.
Right, a go bag or something.
Go bags, yeah, a horse by all these different names. It means that you have what you need when you need it.
Right.
Because there's too many of these, documentary series that are on TV now. I survived this situation, whatever. And because they had a flippin' extra straw from the gas station that they always kept in their glove box, they were able to accomplish something, and this is like the wild example, but you never know. You never know what the day is going to bring you. Right. I'm driving down the road. I had to run, across town and pick up a package, and I come out and there's a dude laying halfway, on the sidewalk. His legs are dangling into the sidewalk, and he's halfway under a bush. Right. If he'd have been tore open from his fall, my tourniquet would have saved his life, depending on, the tear.
Or even just a little bit of gauze, and, or if you needed a rat's tournament.
Yeah.
Or something like that.
A compression wrap,
having an extra pair of rubber gloves. I mean, when it comes to an emergency, I tend not to really think about my personal safety, especially when it comes to somebody that I care about. But, even if it's somebody randomly on the street and I know that I can help them and it's a dire situation, I'm not stopping to put on rubber gloves.
Right.
And it's just one of those things. But, having that kind of thing is a good thing to have. You know what I mean? Like it's just, a CPR mask. I think the Red Cross gives them away for free, and you can hang them off your keys or off your belt or something like that. And it's a little pouch, has a pair of rubber gloves and a little plastic valve way that you can put over a face. And if you have to do CPR, I know CPR changes every 3 months.
Right. Compression only.
With breaths or compression only or whatever. But still, like having that kind of stuff available to you it's being ready. It's just being ready. Always be prepared. That Boy Scout motto. You know what I mean? Like,
right. Because if you're carrying it, like I was saying with like a firearm, right? Once you're carrying something with you, your mind is looking for uses.
Right.
So as I'm going around, I'm doing my daily activities, I run into a situation and I say, hey, I've got a thing for that. I've got that. I have that in my bag. Hang on, let me grab that real quick. Right. Just little conveniences that are totally unnecessary, right? That they're not necessities all the time. There's plenty of things, a roll of quarters in the car. You never know.
Right. Make sure you have a jack and know how to use it, how to change your tire.
Right.
I mean, where were we last year where we worked with a gentleman that was even older than us that seemed to know everything,
but how to change the tire on his truck.
Yeah. Didn't even know how to change a tire.
Where the jack was located.
Right.
Yeah. So
you should know those things with your vehicle and check on them, PM them, preventive maintenance, PM. It is definitely a military term, but knowing that it's there. Sometimes I'm notorious. I'm a pack rat. Ask Mr. Scotty. Like you open my back door of my crew cab of my truck, and I've got 2 blankets, a sleeping bag, a pillow, and probably like 5 random socks. And
can confirm.
Yeah. Just random things. But at the same time, I always have something like that because I'm constantly traveling, that it turns into, oh, I'm just going to pull off the side of the road, lay down in the bed of the truck or something, and I got a sleeping bag.
Right.
Or I kind of look at it as a lightweight sleeping bag, but I look at it as a first aid thing. Oh, this person's in shock. Let's get a blanket on them, at least. If I don't have my space blanket out of my gear.
Right. And so once you've received the training, or you've trained yourself, you've done the research, you understand the gear that you have, how it functions, how to fix it. This brings you to kind of that next level existence. There was something being said the other day. I think it was you and I that were talking, where you have kind of 2 lives, and you've got the life that you lived before you had an understanding of like really who you are and what you're capable of, and then the life you lead thereafter, like once you figure that out. And so if you are training yourself for that competency, right, then you have the confidence in what you're doing to be able to apply those things in your life. So I think everybody should take a step back today, tomorrow, depending on, what environment you're going to be in. Take a deep breath and look around. Realize, the little things that maybe you've never noticed before, and then try to notice every day how things change and develop a baseline in your life.
Right. And I'd like to add to this real quick before we tie things up, but there's a little game you can play with your family as well, and your friends and your buddies. Myself and Mr. Valentine kind of started this game. With your family, start setting things out that are out of the ordinary. And if you have kids, start seeing if they notice those things. Just pick them out.
Rubber duck on the bookshelf.
Yeah, just like weird stuff, or even outside in front of the house.
Right.
Just odd things. And if they start commenting, just, okay, all right, they're paying attention, and, praise them and be like, hey, that's good job. I didn't notice that, or, kind of change things up. But amongst your buddies, here's a fun game to play. You can ask Mr. Valentine, because I love doing this. When I know we're meeting up and we're going to be in certain areas, if we're at a gas station, hey, I'm stopping at the gas station. Well, when I go up and see Mr. Valentine, I know what gas station 90% of the time he's going to be at. And if he says, I'm at the gas station grabbing something, do you need anything? I stop at the gas station. Usually by then he's paying. I will walk in, literally walk in, and walk behind him and jab him in the kidneys. Jab him, like painfully jab him. And he does the same to me, and say, you're dead. Because that just shows how unaware you get, especially in a gas station.
When is the gas station that you visit every day?
Right.
You're seeing the same clerk and, oh, hey, Mr. Valentine,
Yeah.
The usual. Yes. Thank you, Tim. Appreciate you.
Right. And then somebody randomly comes up and jabs you in the kidneys and says, you're dead.
Right. Open your eyes. Open your eyes. Look around, And
I'm 6'6" and 300 plus pounds.
Yeah.
I'm hard to miss.
Well, and once you get in the habit of being willing to be, like we were talking about before, rude.
Right.
don't be afraid to turn around and look at somebody who's standing 2 feet behind you in line.
You mean,
and shoot daggers from your eyes and say, do you mind backing up a little bit for me? Yeah. Like, you don't, the one thing I loved that came out of COVID was that whole 6 feet, right. Social distancing thing. Like, hey, do you mind giving me a little bit of space? Because that lets them know, hey, I'm looking at you.
Right.
I know you're here. And it doesn't matter, if they're just waiting to pay for a pack of cigarettes or if they're trying to, pick your pocket. Right. Hey, I see you. Like,
well, I look at that as like the drill instructor arms distance.
Right.
Like if you're within my arm striking range, let you be in my elbow striking range. It's, because I'll flail my arm around, especially gotten a jacket on now that it's cooler. I'll flail that around. And if you're standing in my way or in that space, that's not my fault. You shouldn't be that close to me.
Shouldn't have been there. Right. Shouldn't have been there, bud.
Right.
All right. Well, let's wrap this up. We appreciate everybody. Shout out to Mr. Valentine. We've been talking about you today. Lots of love. And let's blow the door and get the hell out of here. Hey, thanks again, everybody. We really appreciate you as we're kicking off this show. Want you to go and check us out online, www.badguyforhire.com. Follow us on Facebook and Instagram. All the links are on the website. Give us some thumbs up, shoot us some comments, let us know what you're thinking. And if you've got any topics in mind, hit us with those too. Maybe we'll talk about something you want to listen to. Thanks again. Thank you for listening to Oppositional Forces, Wage War, and Stack Bodies.